All right, welcome to the Crypto Future. My name is Sean Morgan. I am the author of the Newbie Guide to Bitcoin, written in 2018, and I am the writer at Bitcoin City Updates. That's a Substack, so that's bitcoincity.substack.com. Welcome, Josh Reid, the great guy. You also have a crypto book as well, and you're doing crypto consultations. So, Josh, I'm really looking forward to exploring the crypto future with you.
As well, Sean. It's a changing time that's happening in the world right now, and I'm really excited about this. And people who watch the Daily Dose or anything on the Red Pill Project know that what we're watching right now is a new parallel system that is rising up to compete against the old one. And as it begins to have the infrastructure built out, it's going to start to take over the old system. And this is more than the crypto future. I think the crypto future really kind of sparks the idea of the economic analysis of what was going to go on with this show, but also the integration of artificial intelligence and how technology and the emergence of innovation is going to converge all of these things together into something that is going to be unbelievable, that we've never seen before on this planet, but also brings about massive opportunities to people.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think there are a lot of different signals for this. Of course, you can look at what people like Elon Musk are doing, or especially President Trump. But in President Trump's administration, he hired David Sachs, co-founder of PayPal, as the crypto and AI czar. So I think that's significant that they put both of those together under one umbrella, because it is a cohesive marriage between the two. You need the massive energy, data centers, infrastructure, and so I think it all goes together. And of course, you've got President Trump has his own social media networking site. They have just announced recently that they are doing a strategic crypto reserve, and they announced which cryptos that they're going to be investing in. And we've got Elon Musk and his X platform. The plan has always been for that to be basically an online bank. So having crypto wallets, I'm imagining both of those guys are going to have their own crypto wallets. But yes, we've got a new stock exchange in Texas with BlackRock. They're going to want to tokenize everything in our financial system. We talked about before the show how they're seeding the narrative to end the Fed. And we're going to have completely new rails for the global financial system, and stable coins, USD stable coins, are going to be a big part of that. So there's so much to discuss. But just yesterday, there was an executive order where President Trump is now welcoming and authorizing everyone, all Americans with their retirement accounts, to actually have crypto in their retirement accounts. And this has never been allowed before. And just imagine the trillions of dollars of capital that are going to flow into these blue chip cryptos like Bitcoin and the top 10.
Dude, this is where it gets really, really interesting. It's something that I talk about a lot. Now, the first thing that you mentioned is infrastructure, right? So one thing that we have to realize here in the United States of America is we are not like Hong Kong. We're not like Tokyo. We're not like Singapore. We have antiquated infrastructure in this country. Our cities are completely outdated, sitting on 50, 60-year-old technologies. This is a big problem, as this is one of the reasons why 5G rollout took so long, and why technological integration into our society has taken so long, is because we have an old country infrastructure. What the Trump administration is doing is they're allowing foreign investment capital, UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. You have SoftBank, Oracle. You have the UK, which I think is good for $200 billion. You have Apple, that's going to do $600 billion. You're talking over $15 trillion of new capital flowing into the United States, particularly for artificial intelligence, medical biosciences, blockchain, and quantum computing. And what's that going to do? It's going to build out the infrastructure for this new technological society that we are moving into, which, if people don't understand, it is going to be a light years difference from anything that you know of today.
It's called leapfrogging. We're going to leapfrog. Yeah. We're going to go straight to autonomous cars that drive themselves. We're going to go straight to boring tunnels that go from Los Angeles to New York underground, or New York to London under the sea. We're going to go to small nuclear reactors. I mean, it's going to get crazy in the next few years.
Absolutely. And so you need a technological framework in order to operate that. But the first thing that you need to do is you need an energy infrastructure. And if you look at what Trump is doing, and I've been watching this really, really closely since the inception of January 20th, 2025. Everything that he is doing is saying we are replacing the old guard economic system. We are taking it down. We are just dismantling it, and we're rising up a new system. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to build the infrastructure for it. So if we start to watch what the Trump family is doing, what Trump's saying, I mean, think about this. Trump just said in 6 months, the economy is going to boom. He didn't say right now, between now and then. He said in 6 months, the economy is going to boom. And then immediately after this, Eric Trump goes out and puts a tweet saying, buy the dips. Buy the dips. Then you have World Financial Liberty, or World Liberty Financial, right? This is Trump's kids' company. They're part of the Trump family owns it. They're going out there. They're buying Bitcoin, Ethereum. They're buying Solana, Sui. They're buying XRP. They're buying Cardano. Trump comes out and announces a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Says, we're going to buy Bitcoin. We're going to buy Bitcoin. And then next True Social post he puts out there and goes, oh, and Ethereum, Cardano, Sui, Solana, XRP. So if you're wondering what to buy, the hint is right there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so funny because people always criticize President Trump, act like he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's just kind of like making it up as he goes along. And yet even back in 2020, he gave us buy signals of when we should buy into the stock market. Eric Trump has done the same thing, talking about when to buy Bitcoin. Like they just tell you what to do and when to do it, and all you have to do is look at the strategic reserve for the federal government, strategic crypto reserve. What are they going? What do they already have, and what do they plan on having? What's Trump's company plan on having? What does World Liberty Financial have on the books? I mean, there's your potential portfolio.
Exactly. And you know, a lot of what I do is I look at the crypto world and I say, hey, what's going to be the next 10x or 100x or next 1000x coin? Honestly, that's what I used to do, but I kind of can see where this is going. If we look at previous crypto runs, right? Bitcoin, and then you go into the altcoin bull run. So you have Bitcoin that always rises up first, usually after the halving. You have a bull run, and then about 6 months after the Bitcoin bull run, you're going to have an altcoin bull run. Now, traditionally, what we've seen is about double the market cap of Bitcoin flows into that. So when we have a Bitcoin market cap at $2 trillion, we know that the altcoin market cap is probably going to exceed 3.5 to the $4 trillion in market cap. With understanding that alone, we can look and say that 80% distribution of that market cap is going to go to the top 10 to top 15 coins.
Yes.
If you just go out there and do the math on that. Let's just assume $2 trillion flowing into altcoins. 80% of that $2 trillion is flowing into, so $1.6 trillion flowing into just Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Binance Coin, not so much, but Sui, Cardano, XRP. If you just divide that by those 7 tokens and then estimate their current prices, you're going to get a 5x. You're going to get an 8x.
Especially the ones that are lower market cap. And the American ones have an advantage because President Trump has been trying to give an advantage to those American cryptos, no capital gain tax if you hold them, for example. And so, yeah, you might even go to the American, entities. The American cryptos in the top 10 might be given an advantage as well.
That's right. And one of the things that Trump has said is he said that he wants to make the United States of America the crypto mining capital of the world. Now, this is twofold. Do you remember in 2020, 2021, Trump was not for crypto. He goes, I like hard assets like real estate and gold. All of a sudden, he flipped and changed. And I believe that was most likely Eric and Don Jr. and
well, also, remember, that's what JP Morgan said, and that's what BlackRock said. And then they flipped, right? They all flipped. And it makes you wonder if they were trying to just get everyone to look the other way while they consolidated and made their moves.
Well, there's a secret here that's not being told by the Trump administration. And we can all understand right now we're in an artificial intelligence Cold War with China. I don't think that that's any surprise to anybody. Basically, it's the first to the egg is the winner. The first one who obtains ASI, artificial superintelligence, is going to win the global game of the first hyperpower in the world. And Trump is saying, we can't lose this match. We can't lose this game. This is the ultimate battle. So how do you ensure that you become that global leader? Well, look what he's doing with tariffs. Look what he's doing with kind of sanctions on chips to China, right? But AI has 3 different components that we have to look at: data, computing, and energy. Now, energy is the big part here because we don't have a substantiation of energy to feed AI over the course of the next 3 to 4 years as we develop artificial superintelligence. This is where you're talking about to go into the Department of Energy, and they're talking about modular nuclear reactors. And they already have the technology. You can have modular thorium reactors. You can install one in your community. You can install one instead of a propane tank. They're incredibly expensive, and they were regulated heavily, so you couldn't do them. Now that regulation is going to lift where you can do that. But this is what I want people to see, is that at the same time, Trump is saying that the United States has become the crypto mining capital of the world. Well, what do you need in order to mine crypto? You need GPUs and high computing processing power, and you need massive amounts of energy. Well, a lot of these assets that are mining cryptocurrency, they're not mining 24/7. It's dependent upon the blockchain that they're operating on, proof of work, proof of stake, but also it's dependent upon the usability of those mining assets. In other words, they have a lot of downtime. And how do you capitalize on the downtime of the energy systems that are going to power the blockchain mining, as well as the computing power? Well, what you do is you make it a secondary network for national security to feed into the AI infrastructure. So now you're building an ancillary power and computing infrastructure simply on blockchain that feeds directly in to artificial intelligence on the back end. So it's a business within a business.
We've heard of people like the person who wrote Software, who's in Space Force, Jason Lowry, talk about the idea that President Trump could use the Defense Production Act to maybe force people, because it's a national security issue, take control of energy companies, mining companies, maybe even take control of Michael's strategy company. Used to be called MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor's company. Can you imagine if the federal government said, "Hey, we need that Bitcoin for our strategic reserve. We're going to use the Defense Production Act to maybe nationalize this"? There are all types of different scenarios that can play out where probably it's more like what you're saying, where there's a cooperation with the private and the public sector to accomplish a common goal. But I see, yes, it's also, having different avenues to getting different types of rare earth minerals and resources. You might be President Trump saying, "Hey, we need Greenland." It might be building nuclear reactors on the moon so that we can do mining of asteroids and other off-world ways of getting energy and resources, and even doing solar. Once you do solar on the moon or off the Earth, it's actually a lot more efficient. So there's plenty of different ways that we can get the energy, and it's going to be a #1 priority for President Trump because of the AI Cold War.
100%. And to go into talking about the Defense Production Act, I was actually talking about this on my show the other night. There's one methodology that Donald Trump has taken, and people were really confused by this because they didn't understand. It's known as the U.S. Army Detachment 201. All right? U.S. Army Detachment 201. What is it? U.S. Army Reserve Unit dubbed Detachment 201, also known as the Executive Innovation Corps. Its goal is to integrate top tech executives into military advisory roles to accelerate innovation and modernization. Developed June 13th, 2025, 4 high-profile tech leaders were directly commissioned as lieutenant colonels in the United States Army. Andrew Bosworth, Meta CEO, Meta. You have Kevin Weil, OpenAI's chief production officer, Bob McGrew, advisor at Thinking Machines, ex-OpenAI researcher, and Shyam Sankar, Palantir CTO. These executives serve part-time as senior advisors for ongoing modernization projects such as AI, VR, human-machine integrations, hypersonics, innovation pipelines under the broader Army Transformation Initiative. Now, this is what I want people to see in a more centralized scope. Trump nationalized those companies through the U.S. Army. Any way you want to look at it, those guys now lost various rights under the U.S. Code, under the U.S. Constitution, and now fall under the jurisdiction of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Their loyalties to the U.S. Constitution.
Doesn't that kind of make sense, though, if you look at how President Trump has not gone after Zuckerberg the way you would think he would, because Zuckerberg helped to steal the election, to lock down the country in COVID tyranny, spread child porn and pedophilia and child sex trafficking on Instagram, and getting our entire country addicted and suicidal and without any regard to people. So you would think that President Trump would be using the full force of the government weaponized against Mark Zuckerberg and his company, but no, he's bringing him into the fold, and he's doing the same thing with Sam Altman, despite the fact that Sam Altman's number one priority was making sure that President Trump wasn't elected. And I think you're onto something there for why that is. Same thing with Jeff Bezos, by the way.
Correct. And what you're seeing is, I call so, and this is a term that's going to scare the shit out of people because it comes from the World Economic Forum. When we start looking at ESG, environmental, social, and governance, environmental, this is where we get the green revolution, the socialist, communist infiltration. So social is where you get DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and governance is where you get something known as PPP, private partner partnerships. Public-private
Private-public, yeah.
Yep, public-private partnerships. This is what Trump is doing. It's public-private partnerships. But the way he's doing it is through the U.S. military. You remember that term, military is the only way? He's nationalizing these companies directly through the military. So, yes, it's Andrew Bosworth, the Meta CTO. But guess what? When Bosworth leaves, the new CTO is going to be a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. Do you see how this is going? There's a board seat on each one of these companies that is now sat on by a U.S. Army representative that has allegiance and loyalty to the United States Constitution, to the government of this country, to the people of this country. So people are asking me, like, why did Palantir get this contract? And they're going to, they're going to take over the world. And I'm like, no. You're not seeing the bigger picture. Number one is you just centralized all government data into Palantir, one company, and you got rid of 30 different government contractors who have supported the deep state over the last 50 years.
I mean, it was Ghislaine Maxwell's sister that was, in charge of all the back doors for all these cybersecurity companies that were contracting with the government. So
you get rid of those 30 companies, and what do? You get Palantir, whose CTO is a lieutenant colonel in the United States military, and it's a nationalized company under Trump's new administration. So I look at it in the context that I much rather be in alignment with the wild animal I know and can control than the 30 wild animals that want to kill me.
Right. I mean, I think we all have a bit of trepidation about Palantir and Peter Thiel, because of the technocratic agenda and some of the things that have been said about him, and the fact that he doesn't really truly represent the MAGA base in a lot of different ways. He's a homosexual guy. He has sex parties. He has used blood of children for rejuvenating himself. But at the same time, he helped Donald Trump get elected.
He's on the planning board of the Bilderberg Group.
Right. And so I understand and I agree with people who have trepidation about Palantir. And we do have to have our guard up to make sure that we keep our privacy rights and so forth. But at the same time, it's better. It is kind of better than having all what we had during COVID. I mean, that was a hard rollout of the technocratic agenda. And I think at least this way, the people can be a part of the process of deciding how technology is used in our society.
Well, yeah, and see, that's the biggest thing about the blockchain aspect of all of this. is why you're going to have a convergence of artificial intelligence and blockchain is because that the people facilitate the decentralized chain, that you need people integrated into it. No blockchain will ever survive. So we'll talk about decentralized blockchains, right? When you're talking about peer-to-peer networks, if someone comes in and hijacks that change and the government nationalizes, well, guess what? All those peer-to-peer networks start to leave the chain. Nobody wants to use it anymore. And you have this democratization of blockchains in the decentralized aspect. This is one of the beautiful things about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is that you have the integration of the actual individual. This is what we talk about in the context that we become our own banks. You no longer need that banking intermediary in the financial institutions to facilitate cross-border payments or to do transactions between individuals or to invest money into liquidity pools to gain interest, where Wells Fargo is going to pay you 0.1% a year, where in cryptocurrency you can go anywhere from 3 to 4% a year to thousands of percents depending on how you're pooling your money. And so what we're seeing right now is an integration directly of the person, of the individual, into the technological and financial landscape of the world that makes money. And that's huge if people can understand the opportunity that comes about from that.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the timeline for this, because Mark Zuckerberg put out a video last week about how he's seeing glimpses of self-improvement from their AI models, and that's a signal that artificial superintelligence is near. They are offering some people up to $1 billion over 4 years that are high-level open AI, machine learning experts. So they're offering $1 billion. I've never heard of a job offer where you get $1 billion ever in my entire life. I've never heard of 10 times less than that before. So how close do you think, or how much do they see the ASI within their grasp if they're offering people $1 billion to work with them?
So I know for a fact that Google's already obtained AGI. What we're dealing with right now with Grok, the newest Grok and ChatGPT 5, this is AGI. Although we're not capable of getting it on our web pages, they're not giving us that access. These are artificial general intelligence. It's already here. And people are like, well, we're a few years away from AGI. No. AGI is a spectrum. And we have to understand that we are already in the midst, 15% into that spectrum, right? So
AGI is like where the model is smarter than the smartest human.
That would be ASI. So AGI is where that it has the capabilities of human intelligence. But if we start to think about that in the context of artificial intelligence, its memory capacity is far greater. So not only could it have the intelligence of the world's best PhD in physics or in the medical community, it can have both of them at the same time. So they call it savant level AI, because that's literally what it is. It is savant level AI. We are there already. There was a doctor that we were talking about last night on the show.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
I thought, and I'm sure there's differing definitions of all these things. I thought ASI was that the AI was smarter than all of the humans combined.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so ASI supersedes all human beings' knowledge on the planet, right? So and that could happen at any moment after AGI. AGI is basically it's obtained the intellectual capacity to think the same or greater than humanity. Savant level is kind of the way we look at it. But after it attains AGI, it could be a matter of days or hours or years before it hits ASI.
Yeah, if it can improve itself, it goes parabolic, the intelligence level.
Yeah. So the keys to understand about this is the way to get to ASI, the road to ASI, is threefold. Number one is technology, hardware, chips. The faster and the better the chips, the easier it's going to be to centralize data center power, and the more efficient they become, the less power that you need. But then you have computing power, you have tech, the hardware, the actual physical hardware components. Meta, Google, they already have all of this. The next is data.
They buy the chips from Nvidia. Nvidia has like a monopoly on this. Apparently, that's why it keeps the market cap keeps jumping by $1 trillion.
That's right. So
Nvidia
does have it.
I remember when it was just 1 trillion. Now it's how many trillion?
And you got to wonder where Nvidia got that technology. You got to wonder why TMSC, or what, the Taiwan company, why they can only make those chips in Taiwan? Why they're the only ones that have that technology? Did you know that we no longer build the architecture of these chips, that computers actually build the architecture of these chips, and that the way that they build these things is completely hands-off? Humans have no hands-on within any of this. You got to wonder where Nvidia actually got that technology. And then if you start going back to what I've been talking about, the stolen military secrets, SAP programs, reverse engineering technology, Hillary Clinton's emails, China. You get these deep state actors were selling off information, high-level military classified projects to tech companies, foreign adversaries. You got to wonder where Nvidia got this technology. I think I understand where they got this technology, but that's a conversation for another day.
Trump is nationalizing that. He's forcing them to
that's exactly
build
right
in the United States.
And that could be a big part of it too. Is, hey, we're not going to prosecute you for having these military secrets and buying them on the open market, but this is what we're going to do. You're going to allow to exist. You're going to allow to make profits, but we're nationalizing you through a public-private partnership with integration into the Department of Defense. Boom, done.
Yeah,
right?
It's no longer just in Taiwan, just so everyone knows. That's one of Trump's major moves. Is to force
Arizona is building
domestic
out a plant right now.
Yep.
So you have that. Then you have data and energy. So when Facebook's looking at this, Facebook has the data aspect of things.
So does Google.
They have the computing aspect of it. Energy is the big part of it, right?
Yeah, they're buying up nuclear reactors.
That's right. But then what you have is they're going out there and they're offering this massive amount of money to people because they know what the upside is. The upside is trillions of dollars. 1% market share in the AI world is going to literally be $1 trillion, because we're talking about $100 trillion market cap in the next 5 years. This is through all scopes of automation, robotics, automated cars. We're talking about everything that's integrated. You're talking about 100 trillion. That's a double the global GDP of where it's right at now. This is why I want people to understand the economic aspect of how you need to get into this stuff now. But when Facebook's looking at it, they are trying to recruit the top technology in the world, and so they have to incentivize that. I was listening to a podcast, I heard the AI CEO the other day, and they were discussing this, and they said, listen, the problem right now is that there's 6 AI companies, and there's only about 20 people in the world who understand it.
Yeah.
And these 20
That's why they're offering $1 billion to those 20 people.
So they're trying to recruit these 20 people into their company, because if they get there first, they're the winner. And so the problem here is that, number one, is nobody understands AI. The guys that are developing it, they understand it very, very kind of complex, but they are the master key holders that understand the base code off of the open source into the privatization. And so Facebook is simply trying to capture that talent.
Yeah, that's part of the formula for dominance, is that human capital.
Yep.
Human intelligence and skills from those 20 people, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and so, you know, Sean, as we begin kind of the end of 2025, the last 6 months of 2025, I tend to look back at the 1990s and say, oh man, I'm nostalgic, right? I remember those days. No cell phones, no technology. Nobody cared if you had cable TV, all of these things. And I say, man, I wish those days would come back again. Well, I want people to understand that next year, you'll probably be saying the same thing about 2025. Because seriously, man, I wish 2025 would come back again, because man, the world has changed so much in just 1 year. And I want people to understand that what we're about to hit is an exponential technological surge into the future, a massive leapfrog into the future. And it's going to happen within 1 year.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about humanoid robots and how that can change the workforce. And I mean, we've got the master, Elon Musk. He's the master of manufacturing. People don't realize that.
Yep.
That he is not only the master at this and that and satellites and social networking sites and rockets and all that stuff. He is a master at manufacturing. So if anyone can build out 1 billion humanoid robots, it's him, and with his gigafactories. He knows how to do it. So, and I mean, there's a public-private partnership right there. He's the biggest defense contractor for the federal government.
That's right.
Don't even pay attention to the political theater with Trump and him in their spat, because Starlink and Space Force, I mean, they keep working together despite all that.
That's right. And I guarantee you there's a portion of that to where someone in Elon's company is going to be nationalized through the DOD. But, you know, when you look at people like Elon, you know, I was talking about this last night. I said, you know, I don't think Elon cares about more money. Elon's not in it right now for more money. He could give two shits about being a trillionaire or more money. What he wants is he wants the technology. He wants to launch off into space, leave this solar system and explore. He wants to go to Mars, colonize. That's what Elon, he wants to go to the moon, mine
if anything, he wants power in the next civilization off of Earth.
That's right. And, you know, that brings in a good point here is that, you know, I don't think people really tend to perceptualize the level of technological innovation that's going to come about over the next year to 5 years. Biological technologies. When we're talking about curing illnesses, curing diseases, viruses, bacterial infections, brain-eaten amoebas, when we're talking about genetic disorders, we're talking about Alzheimer's, all of this stuff. Within the time frame of AGI and ASI, it's over. All that goes away.
Human disease.
Yeah.
Human disease is
guess
over.
What else is?
Perhaps aging.
I was going to say,
death.
Aging's a disease. And they've already, so by the way, if anybody doesn't know, Dr. David Sinclair, Harvard University, has done multiple podcasts on this. He's been researching this topic since 2015. He's a foremost expert on aging. He's determined that aging is a disease, inherent disease in humanity. And what it comes about with is the oxidative stress that goes into our cellular structure that damages DNA over time, not allowing it to repair itself and produces less efficient cells over time, which produces us to age, right? Now, he's came out with tons of different technologies to kind of help people age easier and look younger and this type of things. Whether your biological age changes, I don't know. But he's 60 years old and he looks like he's 35, looks younger than you and I. He was just on a recent podcast. Now, this is going to scare a little people, and it kind of scares me too, but we have to understand that we're in the first parts of this technology, the scientific exploration of this technology. What they were able to do is they did 5 series of this experiment on mice. They found a certain type of stem cell, and it's in humans. They took this stem cell and they were able to utilize a process to inject it into a cell in a human, into a mouse, and completely reset the biological age of the mouse. What I mean by that is they'll take a mouse that has a biological age of, let's say, a 90-year-old human being, and they're able to take that stem cell and then modify it in a certain way to where they can pick the age that they want to send it back to. They can send it back to 15 years old. They can send it back to 25 years old. They can send it back to 40 years old. And they've done it.
Is that why some of these Hollywood people are looking young all of a sudden? Because I'm seeing some people that are really surprising me. And I'm like, hey, is this a new type of plastic surgery? Because I thought that person was supposed to be about biological age of 70 years old, like Michelle Pfeiffer and some of these people.
Tom Cruise.
Kardashian. Well, Tom Cruise, I don't. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he looks great. So there's so much, like you said, that's going to leapfrog, and it's going to be in every area. And I don't think people understand that the AI is already revolutionizing all these industries and discovering new things that we didn't know before, and capabilities that we didn't have. And we're talking about it happens every single week. Every single week, there's some kind of new AI breakthrough in these different industries. So we are going to keep you guys up to date with this leapfrog story, and we're going to do this show called The Crypto Future here on Rumble and other places as well. So you can sign up, you can get latest up-to-date podcasts on the RSS feed. So we'll put all the description, everything in the description below. But the number one thing to remember is thecryptofuture.com. You can get a consultation with Josh or myself to find out how you can be impacted as far as your financial future with crypto. We're not going to give financial advice or anything, but we will educate you in that consultation. So if you have an interest in that, just click on the link below, which will be thecryptofuture.com. Josh, any final thoughts?
Buckle up, people. We're about to head into the future.
Amen, brother. Thanks, everyone, for joining. God bless.
Take care. Good night.